this question kind of is pretty broad, but I'll attempt to answer it as best as I can. First, we have to make a determination of who is at fault for the accident or the injury. So sometimes we don't know exactly who's at fault, so there has to be an investigation done to determine who's at fault. What parties are involved? What actions do they have? Or what part they in a scenario? And there's a determination of who's at fault. But then the other question to ask with this question is who is liable for the injury is what insurance is involved with the parties that are at fault. So sometimes we know who's at fault, but there's multiple insurance companies that are involved with that at-fault party. So we have to do an investigation to see what policies are potentially out there for compensation. And sometimes there's multiple policies that we could go after. So there's a whole gamut of situations that we need to look at in each case. And any good attorney is going to sit down with their client, go over the facts of the case in detail, and interpret those facts, apply it to the law, and then find out what our best method is moving forward.
Okay, all right, makes sense. This question is much more specific. It's a little longer, so bear with me. I fell when walking into a major department store. I own a small company, and they are not going to compensate me for, the insurance company is not going to compensate me for missed sales on my days off. Is this fair?
There is ways of getting compensation for missed work or missed sales, but the important thing to do in this scenario is to keep good records of your missed work because of the injury. So what I always tell clients to do is to keep a journal of how long they're out of work and what times they're out of work and how that's affected them. The other thing that we need to look at is what kind of compensation they would typically get if they were able to work on a regular basis, and compare it to how they are now, how much income they're able to make now. It's easier if they're an employee that makes an hourly wage and their employer can write a note that said that they missed this amount of work, this many hours, and we can do the math that way. Someone who's self-employed, it becomes a little more complicated, and that's why more detailed information needs to be taken down. And so it's a good idea to really make very clear and accurate notes about how much time you're missing, what missed opportunities you've had, and sit down with your attorney and come up with a plan to present that to an insurance company in a way that they will understand and be able to compensate you for it.
Understood. Okay. And last question we had was, I was injured at work and I'm currently receiving workman's compensation. Can I get more than just my workers' compensation?
Yeah. It's actually a good question. When you accept workers' compensation, there are times where that's your only avenue of recovery. So if you're getting the workers' compensation, you won't have other opportunities to get anything else. There are a number of situations, and I don't want to go into specifics because each case is very different, but there are a number of situations where you actually can bring a personal injury claim aside from your workers' compensation claim. And so you really need to sit down with an attorney and go over the specific facts of the case so that they can evaluate, apply the law, and determine if you have other avenues that you can get compensated. Just another side note there is that there are certain statute of limitations issues that prevent you to bring certain claims beyond a certain amount of time. So if you've been getting workers' compensation for a certain amount of time and want to then bring a personal injury claim, you'll want to act fast because your time may be tolling on that issue.
Okay, all right, well, that's probably some good advice there. With that said, if anyone that's watching this has any additional questions, like I said, you can post them below to the YouTube questions. John will get back to you. If you have an immediate question, you can always just call their office or visit their website. We've provided the link below to his website. And with that said, John, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time, Ryan.
We're with John Kelly. John Kelly is a personal injury attorney in Phoenix, Arizona. He's agreed to answer some online questions that some people posted. In addition, these are specifically related to assault. And if you've been assaulted, it's like the people we're about to list, if you have any questions related to it, you can post this in the comments section below. John's agreed to get back to you with the answers. Also, if you have a more pressing situation or concerned or curious about the compensation levels you potentially could receive, you can reach out to John directly, and his contact information is there. With that said, John, let's go to our first question that was posted. The first question was from Daryl. Daryl says, I was in a fight which I did not start. There were no charges filed, but I did get stitches. I was not the aggressor in the fight. Is it possible for me to file a claim against my assailant?
Okay, Daryl does have the possibility of filing a claim against the person who injured him. You can always file a claim against another individual. However, you will have the burden to prove your claim. So we have to kind of look at what it takes to prove an assault charge in Arizona, or an assault claim. So the Arizona statute requires that the person intended to harm you, or at least cause you apprehension of that harm. And not only did they intend to harm you, but they did in fact harm you or cause you that apprehension, and that you suffered damages. So with a lot of lawsuits with assault cases, there are some things that we want to find out from our clients before we actually file a lawsuit. So before they do that, it's wise to contact a qualified attorney who can give you some advice regarding whether you can file that claim. Well, we know you can file it, but whether it's going to be a successful claim and whether there's the availability of compensation for you. Okay, all right, excellent.
Next question we have is from Alex. Alex says, I have been assaulted and received injuries from a third party. What steps do I need to be taken to ensure I have a case? And what if the assaulting party has limited funds?
Alex's question is actually a very good one. What are the steps that he needs to do to see if he can get compensation? He first needs to file a police report if he's been assaulted. And this kind of goes back to collecting evidence and making sure that we can document what exactly happened. An investigation needs to be done. And it is actually helpful if the police show up, and actually if they go and give a citation for an assault, a criminal assault, to the other party, it can be helpful to his civil case. He needs to take pictures of his injuries and provide witness information to his attorney. He will want to contact an attorney to see if it's worth pursuing after that. So he mentions that the party may have limited funds, and that is actually something that he should consider before filing a lawsuit. So oftentimes an attorney will be able to assess whether the party who assaulted him will have the funds to be able to compensate him for his injuries.
Okay, all right. The last question we had here is from Ben. Ben says, I am being sued civilly. I am being sued civilly for assault, but was not criminally charged. I see you work on a contingency basis, but how does that work in my situation?
Well, he's going to want to actually contact an insurance defense attorney regarding the lawsuit. That insurance defense attorney will probably have a different kind of fee agreement aside from a contingency fee agreement, and we'll be able to see if he has any defenses to the claim and can respond to the lawsuit. So that's something for an insurance defense attorney to look at closely. He can just sit down, do a free consultation with that attorney, and get the information he needs of how to proceed forward.
Excellent. Okay. Well, if anyone watching has any questions for John, you simply post them in the comments below. If you have, again, a personal situation, maybe you don't want to post it online, or you want to reach out to John directly, you feel free to do so. His number's on the video and the contact information. John, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ryan.
We're with John Kelly. John Kelly is a personal injury attorney in Phoenix, Arizona. He's agreed to answer some questions related to motorcycle accidents. For the people who posted your questions, we're going to get back to you right in this video. If you've been injured in a motorcycle accident, you can obviously reach out to John directly, but he's also is going to allow people to post their questions in the comment section below. All you have to do is post your comment or your question, and Dave or John will get back to you with his answers. With that said, John, let's go into our first questions. This one was from Steven. Steven says, do motorcycle cases provide any different compensation levels than car accident cases?
Well, that's a good question. In Arizona, the underlying laws for compensation are no different in a truck accident, a car accident, a motorcycle accident. They are all governed by the same laws. Motorcycles do present some different circumstances which actually change the compensation levels we typically see. Motorcycles are less stable, they're less visible, often they're high performance, and coupled with the driver being more exposed to the elements, they typically result in worse injuries. Because the injuries are worse, the amounts of compensation that we see in these cases are typically larger. But other than the amount of injuries, the actual laws that govern these injuries are all the same.
Okay, all right. The next question was from Randy. Randy says, I was hit by a truck while riding my motorcycle. I do have minor injuries, but it was completely his fault. What factors would be considering in determining my compensation?
Well, in any motorcycle accident, there's several factors that your attorney will want to sit down with you and determine before we can start talking about what compensation you would be able to get from it. The minor injuries, you know, is a question, is a subjective answer. So we need to know what he considers minor. You know, are we talking broken bones? Are we talking scraped skin? You know, there's a lot of different injuries that could happen that could be considered somewhat minor. Were the injuries all related to the accident is another question. Was there any pre-existing injuries that were there? Was there any property damage to the motorcycle? Was there any missed work? And then one of the most important question is does he have insurance? And did the person that caused the accident have insurance? So these are all questions that, and there's more, that need to be gone through in detail before we can start determining how we can get to compensation and how much it would be.
Okay, all right. And the final question we have was from Alex. Alex says, I was hit by a truck while riding my motorcycle. Oh, excuse me, that was the wrong one. Alex, I was on I-10 west of town and ended up laying down my bike to avoid hitting a couch on the road. I did spend some time in the hospital. Can I go after anyone for leaving this on the road? Do I have any recourse?
Believe it or not, he likely does have some recourse. First, he needs to make sure that he calls the police and makes a report of the accident. That's one of the most important things that he can do. Because we don't know who left the couch on the road, we would need to look at Alex's own insurance to see if he has uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage. So that uninsured motorist coverage comes into play when we have a phantom object or a phantom vehicle that causes the injury. Hopefully he will have that motorist coverage in his own insurance policy. Then he'll need to make a claim with his own insurance company to get him that compensation for his injuries. However, he should still talk to an attorney because he wants to make sure he's making all the necessary claims to his own insurance company, and he's telling them the right information so that he can maximize his compensation.
All right. Well, that was the last question. Again, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, post them in the comments section below, or you can reach out to John directly. John, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ryan.
Today we're with John Kelly. John Kelly is a personal injury attorney in Phoenix, Arizona. He's agreed to answer some of the questions that were posted online, and for those of you who have posted those questions, you're going to get your answers right now. If alternatively, if you have, or if you're looking for a personal injury attorney, you can feel free to give him a call.